My name is Dr. Matthew Garcia. I'm the beef cattle extension specialist at Utah State University. And being that bull buying season right now is really among us, I'm sure you guys are getting inundated with bull sale catalogs via mail, email, all over the place. One of the big questions I get every year is how do I properly utilize some of these tools that are available to me to select bulls, and how do I select a good bull? Now, one of the things that I would say is that one of the best ways to manage production risk from a production standpoint is good sire selection. That bull selection is going to have economic impacts downstream of that decision, rangeland impacts, production impacts, marketability impacts, because that bull is going to spread his genetics across your entire herd. And those results or those impacts are going to be felt for multiple generations, especially if you're keeping replacement females off that bull. So his genetics are going to influence you for multiple years. And just proper sire selection is a great way to really manage risk. Oops. So one of the things I wanted to do with this was kind of introduce some tools. But before we get into the tools, I think we really need to look at, some different criteria and look at some basic genetic principles. The first thing you look at is, what are your goals with this bull selection? Are you trying to, fix an issue in your herd? Are you trying to become more desirable with certain marketability traits? Are you trying to become even more competitive, more superior in a market that you're entering? One of the big questions you need to ask yourself, though, is what is your base herd genetics? What type of cows do you have? Because this really is going to influence the type of bull you select going forward. And ultimately, you need to understand that that cow combination, that bull combination is generating your saleable product. So you really need to determine, one, are they compatible? But two, is there a market for that product? The next thing we need to kind of look at, get a little bit more detailed, is, once again, what is your base cow herd? Are they compatible with what you want to do or that type of bull you want to put on them? Are they going to be able to have those types of calves and raise that type of calf that you're looking at there? Remember, those cows are half the genetic equation right there. What type of cows are these being utilized? Are these heifers where we're really concerned about, getting that first calf on the ground? We want some calving ease. Are these cows, mature cows? Is this a purebred operation, crossbred operation? We'll talk a little bit more about those operations as we get more detail on some other things. And then you need to evaluate, what is your market strategy with these calves? Is it a terminal operation? Basically, you're sending every single calf to the sale barn, or you're marketing every single calf every year, not producing any replacements. Are you keeping replacements, or do you have some type of combination plan there with what you're doing with that calf crop? Another question we really need to look at, and I stated this before, is that when you're putting that bull on those cows, you really need to determine, is that bull going to produce a calf that's not only compatible with your cows, but are those cows going to be able to raise that type of calf to give you that genetic predisposition you're looking for in your production environment? Do you have the resources to bring that genetic predisposition out? And ultimately, you want to look at all the traits that are important for your operation. Look at all the traits that make an animal compatible, marketable, and efficient in your operation. Now, with this 7-part series, we're going to talk about some different tools. Today, we're just going to talk about basic genetic principles. We're going to go on a visual appraisal, talk a little bit about pedigrees, performance testing, EPDs, molecular testing, and then we'll actually talk about how we implement each one of these tools specifically for your operation, how you need to kind of manipulate and evaluate the information you're getting from these tools for selection criteria in your operation. Now, just a trait, this is our first genetic principle. It's just any measurable, observable characteristic in an individual. This could be birth weights, weaning weights, yearling weights, pregnancy status. Is she open? Is she pregnant? And bull selection is highly dependent on what traits are important to your operation. Remember, you need to look at the animal as a whole. What are you trying to produce, and what animal as a whole is going to be desirable in your operation? The second thing we need to look at is the heritability of the trait. How likely is the performance of the parents going to be transferred to the offspring? Remember, not all traits are equally heritable. And we'll see that in one of these next slides here. Now, a lowly heritable trait, these are the ones that kind of give us headaches. Unfortunately, these are some of our more important traits as well. These are things like reproductive efficiency, disease traits, disease resistance. Now, improvement through these through selection is highly unlikely. Just because mom and dad are good at it doesn't necessarily mean the offspring are going to be good at it. Now, again, in molecular technologies, we'll talk a little bit how we can kind of maybe start hedging our bet on these a little bit. But these are also highly environmentally influenced traits, meaning that these traits are going to be influenced by our management, the environment those cattle are in, the resources available to those cattle to really perform. Our moderately heritable traits, these are, if we're really accurate, we're really diligent with our selection practices, we can actually make improvement on these through accurate selection. Our highly heritable traits, these are traits that if mom and dad are good at it, typically the offspring are going to be good at it. And these are typically some of our associated with some of our growth traits. Now, if you look at this chart here, you can see the heritability of all these different traits. The first trait, fertility, you can see there it is very lowly heritable. Just because mom is, for example, a Pathfinder cow, doesn't necessarily mean all her daughters that you keep are going to be Pathfinder cows. Now, ribeye area, you can see down there is highly heritable, but we'll talk about why ribeye area is kind of hard to measure, in our live animals sometimes. Now, remember, our lowly heritable traits, these are the ones we're going to improve through management. These are the ones we're giving those cows the resources to do the job we want them to do. Either it's nutrition to maintain reproductive efficiency, vaccines, minerals to maintain animal health. And these are traits, once again, that we're getting close to being able to really make some significant strides in selection with some of our molecular technologies that are currently available and being developed further. Now, our highly heritable traits, remember, we still need to be accurate with these. These are highly heritable. Mom and dad are good at it. We still got to evaluate that compatibility going forward so we can really manage the risk in our operation, make sure those animals are going to be compatible with what we want to do. Our carcass traits, as we saw, there's some highly heritable carcass traits. Unfortunately, to get that actual measurement on that calf, we have to harvest that calf a lot of times. But being that we have ultrasound technology, this is widely utilized. This is another tool that we can use to kind of evaluate that trait and how we're making progress going forward. And we do have quite a bit of molecular tests available to really evaluate that, improving those traits without having to go to the extreme. Now, the other thing we really need to remember on this is environment is a huge component of this. Our environment, our resources are going to influence genetic predisposition going forward. And with that, we'll go ahead and end here. And the next module will be visual appraisal.